We are the wise and wicked crones. Got no time for lies, no time for casting stones. Wise and wicked, no time for fears or prevarications. Wise and wicked, gonna rise among the nations. Crones are gonna spread our wisdom around the nations. We are the wise and wicked crones. Wise and wicked crones.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm okay. I was recovering from something, not sure what it was. I picked it up at the OLPAGM. I thought it was COVID. I thought it was super mild case of COVID, like super, super, super mild. And a friend of mine, she came down with COVID, tested myself twice, no COVID. But there is something going around because
Yeah.
a friend of mine has had similar, like you just kind of, it's kind of like a tickly cough and you just feel laid low, like meh, like you don't feel like doing anything, but you still can do stuff.
So what's weird with the people I know who've had that is half of them have tested positive for COVID and half of them have not.
Interesting. Well,
So,
I was completely negative.
it's
I
like,
will tell you, January, according to York Region Public Health, January will be the big month where where peak, and it's not going to be COVID, it's going to be RSV.
uh,
Now, is there a vaccine for RSV? I know there's one for children. Is there one for adults?
yeah, I think there is for over a certain age. I should look into that, I guess, but I have
Well,
heard that the new COVID vaccine is available, the one that's updated for the latest strains, but
yeah.
it's not widely available yet. And I mean, I don't
No.
know. I was sort of debating, was I going to get another shot this year? And then there's still 7 people a day dying in Canada from COVID. Seven
Yeah.
people a day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
I'm the vaccination queen. I've had 7 COVID shots and I get a flu shot every year. So, and part of it is because I'm exposed to vulnerable people in my
yeah,
daughter's group home. And
yeah,
mercifully, and we just had our AGM with Participation House, but mercifully, this is the first 2024 so far they've had no lockdowns because of COVID, which is
wow,
great because there's
wow.
nursing homes and everything that are locking down. There's a lot of it. So it's very rampant. Like, we just don't talk about it, but it's there. And I'm considering, and I'm probably going to start doing it in mid to late November. I'm going to start wearing masks when I go into
Yeah,
public places. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
As much as
noticed
it
a
really
little bit of
looks
that when
sick.
I was down in the Berkshires.
Yeah.
Before we keep going, we should do
Yeah.
our beginning, land acknowledgement, etc.
Oh yeah. So sorry. Got
Oh, we both were like,
distracted.
la 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 la.
Oh, I haven't talked to you in ages.
I
So
know.
I just want to say, acknowledge that this episode is being recorded on the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee people and the, sorry,
Anishinaabe.
Anishinaabe. Oh my God. Okay, brain fart, brain fart, brain fart. Yes, they Anishinaabe people, the traditional lands. And I just want to welcome everybody. My name is Leea Nutson, and and I haven't even got my phone with me. I am a widow. I am a political wonk. I am a grandmother. I am a dog lover. I'm a yoga and workout enthusiast. And lately, I've been a consumer of massive amounts of wine. So forget about quality. We're talking about quantity right now. It's been a stressful few weeks, let me tell you. I know. So combined, Peggy and I have accumulated over a century of learning and life experiences. Our mission is to bring you thought-provoking, interesting, and often humorous wisdom that will enhance your life and enlighten your spirit. Nothing is sacred. This is a frank look at life and an open space for discussion, and we welcome you into our world.
Indeed, we do. And I'm Peggy Sample, also known as Margarett. And let's see. I love to travel. I love to hike. I am a mom. Even though I'm my age, I guess we never stop being moms. I am passionate about music and art and creativity uh, and equality and kindness in general. So, and disclaimer, I'm just going to quickly read: the opinions expressed in this and all episodes are our own. You can disagree with what you hear, that's fine. Just feel free to move on, because we will always wish you the best of life, love, and happiness. And please note that this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only. It's not meant to constitute any type of professional advice. And if you would like professional advice, please seek out the appropriate medical, legal, accounting, whatever professional. There you go.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And I should add in there that I also go by warrior. I am a warrior.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
See, when I don't have things written down, right over the head.
Well, because I already have them out, I'm remembering to draw an oracle card. And for people who are watching this for the first time, we always endeavor to pull a card that will give us a little bit of guidance. That one jumped for the episode. And today we have the Six of Swords, which is about, I always think about it of like the meeting of the minds, or pulling all the different thoughts together and combining them, because sixes, that's what swords are about: intellectual and mental areas. And so to me, that card is like the meeting of minds, or the bringing together of the different thoughts within our own heads. So seeing as that's what we are attempting to do, and today we have a really, really fun topic. Today our topic is going to be premonitions. So, and I want to say that a lot of times throughout the ages, premonitions or foreknowledge or has been dismissed as women's intuition, or it has been elevated as women's intuition, depending on where you're hanging out. And I want to say it's not restricted to women. Men and women both have intuition. It is our sixth sense, and it is something that we can all access and pay attention to. So we're going to call them premonitions. It's like knowing something, feeling something before it happens. So
absolutely. I think the women are inherently more intuitive, only because I think women take more time thinking and being introspective about what goes on inside their minds. Not
I
to
think
say
a
all
lot
men.
of times, yeah, women have also had to learn how to be aware and how to read the room and read the subtle signals, which is part of premonition, can be being aware, right? You know, it's like you can say, oh, there's a storm coming, and it's partly because the hairs on your neck are starting to stand up and you can see the clouds, but you pay attention to it. That is a forecasting, a foreknowledge of it, right? So
absolutely. I know
yeah.
I'm a strong believer that intuition, premonition, whatever you wish to call it. I think we all have it. We all have it in degrees, and we can develop it, certainly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. You can certainly take the time to develop it. It's really kind of interesting though. This week, the cards that I pulled for myself and my horoscope said, trust your intuition. And I always trust my intuition. I trust my gut when it comes to a lot of situations, and when it comes to, I don't want to say judging people, but making and not even making assumptions, but I'm just intuitive about people. And usually my first feeling about them is usually pretty accurate, as was tested this week. So, yeah, that is, I think we can be extremely accurate in certain situations.
Absolutely. And I mean, premonitions can come in different forms. They can be those feelings, those gut knowing in your gut, right? It can also be dreams. Some people have dreams where they will have a premonition of something happening, or like a deja vu. A deja vu is different because it's happening and you go, oh, this has already happened. But sometimes you can forecast that feeling, or you know, so that's, yeah, but dreams can sometimes be very premonitionary. I know there's a
There
better
we go.
word.
The one I had last night where I dreamt that I had my hand up on a wall and a mouse crawled over it. So if you know what lives in my horror house wheelhouse of fear and terror in my brain, it is mice. So that wasn't good. So hopefully that won't happen. Interestingly enough, I've had a lot of dreams lately. We're not really going to talk about dreams, but I've had a lot of dreams about zombies and water. But the zombie dream was that I was in a room full of people and they were all turning into zombies. And I think this has got a lot to do with what's happening with politics in the States. And I turned around and brought out the warrior and yelled at them and said, everybody, stop turning into zombies. And they all started turning back into normal people.
Oh, cool.
That's a weird dream.
Well, you know what, dreams at this time of year, we're recording this in mid-October. This time of year, the veils between the worlds get very, very thin. And so I've noticed I'm starting to have a lot of visits in dreams from folks who've passed. I'm having lots of family dreams. And it's really kind of neat. You wake up in the morning and go, oh, I spent some time with my dad, or, so that for sure the veils are getting thinner. And my dreams are also not only the visits, but also just really vivid, like even more than usual. And I think you and I both are very vivid, complicated dreamers, right?
Exactly. And I've had very many visitation dreams in my life. But I'm gonna just start things off, talk about one premonition that I had, which was a very sad premonition, I think. So Bob and I met late in life. I was in my mid to late 40s. I'm trying to remember. I am bad with dates, let me tell you. In any case, it was a second marriage for each of us. And it was certainly an extremely happy one. We were really well connected. I have never in my life felt so connected with another person as I did with Bob. One of my friends recently said she thought I was romanticizing the relationship and making it more perfect than it was. And it certainly wasn't perfect, but it was pretty damn close to being perfect. Anyways, but for some bizarre reason, I always was afraid that he was going to leave me. He was going to leave me for maybe for another woman. I don't know. I kept thinking he was going to leave me. He was going to leave me. He was going to leave me. And it made me sometimes behave in ways that he did not like, because it would make me panic when I couldn't reach him. It would make me question where he was going, and he wasn't doing anything. He was probably just going to Lee Valley or, whatever. He just, he wasn't like that. But, and I mean, I had some experience in my first marriage with, well, I won't even go there, but in any case. So, I had some precedent for it, but I still had this horrible gut feeling that one day he was going to leave me. And that never went away. It was always niggling in my gut. Well, then lo and behold, doesn't he, after how many years, get cancer? And we were at first told that, and I don't know how much of this I've said before, but he had a very rare form of thyroid cancer. And it was indicated to us that once he had the surgery, he was going to survive. But in the back of my mind, I always had this feeling that, and sure enough, that 4 years after the surgery, the cancer, which had never left him, just exploded. And the last year of his life was particularly difficult. So it wasn't. So I believe somebody said to me, you were manifesting his death. Well, that's complete and utter baloney. I was having a premonition about him leaving me. And I'm absolutely positive to this day that was it. It was my whatever inner intuition, whatever sixth sense telling me that one day I was going to be without him.
Yeah. And I mean, at one point we were thinking about doing premonitions and manifestations on the same episode, and we decided to split them up. And I really think that, so I think that we can have a premonition that we have absolutely no control over the outcome. When I did readings all the time, if anyone doesn't know, I was a psychic medium for years, professionally. And I guess I still am. I just don't work at it, right?
And
But
you're very good. You are amazing.
thank you. But I've retired from doing individual readings. However, so I would say that when I was given information, it was either to prevent or prepare. And lots of times something could be prevented if someone were on a track of self-destruction with food and drugs and alcohol. If they would stop doing that, they could change the outcome of the road they were on. But sometimes it wouldn't matter what was going to happen. What changes were made, there was still, the road was too far traveled for it to be changed. And in that case, it was to prepare. And all different areas, but that's just an easy example, or a simple example. So I don't think in any way did you manifest that into being. Not at all. I'll give you a story of how certain times we can, here's a story. When Brett and I were flying to Newfoundland a couple of summers ago, and we were renting a car to travel around for almost 2 weeks. And towards the last 2 weeks, I started like, oh, there's something going to go wrong with the rental. There's something going to go wrong with the rental car. And I knew all the rental cars were sold out on there because it was, 22 or whatever. There was just, there was no, anything that hadn't been booked months in advance wasn't going to happen. And I was like really fretting. There's something not right. There's something going to go wrong. There's something not right. And okay, there's something off on the reservation. So what I'm going to do is I am going to say, okay, there's something not, but it's going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. Whatever it is, it's all going to be fine. It's all going to work out for the best. Not to worry. It's all going to be fine. It's all going to be fine. There's something anywhere else. It's all going to be fine. I know there's probably something weird, but it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. We get off the plane. We rush to the rental place because I'm like, and we get there. And then I say, oh, yeah, we've got our reservation, the name. And he's like, oh, he said, well, the car that you booked is not available. And I went, I knew it. He said, so we've upgraded you to an SUV. And I went, yes, it's all going to work out. So there's a case of a premonition. But then I spent all that energy going, it's going to be fine. It's going to work out. It's all going to be great. So I was correct. I did have a correct premonition. There was something off, but then it was also not falling into the fear. And I think that's a whole different level from feeling like you're going to lose a loved one. Okay, that's a whole different feeling. And in your case, there was nothing to be done to prevent it. It was to prepare, right? In that way, the little ways that we prepare ourselves, if sometimes if Brent's away or whatever, and I'm not hearing, and he's way later than I expect, and I go, okay, so he's probably okay, but if he's not, I can handle it. I'll just when we were on last year on our road trip, and he did this, it's called the Tail of the Dragon. It's a road. There's 133 hairpin turns in an 11-mile section of a mountain. I didn't want to go on it with him. And he's left, and he said, okay, well, if I'm not back in an hour, I'm probably dead. Deal with, you. So much longer than that time, I'm sitting there watching the river going, well, okay, so he's probably okay, but if he's not, I'll have to figure out how to get his body home. So he was fine, obviously. And I didn't feel like anything was going to go wrong. But it's the way that we, our minds will prepare ourselves. But anyway, so that was the rental car story. I just thought that was an interesting thing of knowing, but not falling into the dark side, right?
Exactly. So I have my favorite story about premonition, and I'm not sure if I've shared it with you, but I've told quite a few people this story because I think it's beyond bizarre. So when I was in high school in Toronto, I had a boyfriend in high school, and we went on for about a year and a half or so. I have to admit, I was probably not the best girlfriend to him, whatever. So when To this day, I feel guilty about that. Anyway, so we, when I was in my 17th year going to grade 13, we actually moved to Markham, which if you've ever switched high schools in grade 13 is like torture.
Brutal.
But anyway, so that particular summer, I sort of broke up with him. I don't think he realized I had broken up with him, but he was working at a helicopter factory in northern Quebec because his father worked for the Ministry of Transport. So he had this summer job before I went into grade 13. And he would send me these long, long letters, and they would talk about what he did and what he ate and playing the harmonica, and they were really boring. And I kept thinking, if you had just put something lovey-dovey in there or romantic, I probably would have stayed with him, but I didn't. And anyways, it was about a dozen, maybe 10, maybe a dozen of these letters. And so the summer ended, but for some reason, I saved these letters.
Yeah.
I saved these letters. I saved these letters for 15 years. And then, you know, I kind of forgot about them, got married, had my kids, so on and so forth. Then I got a phone call from a friend of mine saying, oh my God, you're not going to believe this, but Ken was killed in a car accident. And I'm like, oh my God. And he wasn't even 40 at the time. And his wife was severely injured. His son was severely injured, but his daughter was fine. And I said to my friend, I have these letters. Oh my God, do you think the widow would want them? They're not love letters. They're like a diary. And she's like, oh, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Like, that's creepy. And I'm like, okay. So I hung onto the letters. 25 years goes by. I still have these letters in my possession.
Over multiple moves.
40 years.
And moves and
approximately.
moves and moves.
And
Yeah.
moves and moves and moves and moves and new husbands and everything. So anyway, so fast forward to it was a while ago because I can't remember, Bob was alive, so it was at least 7 or 8 years ago. So then I get an email from the same friend who's now living in Nanaimo, and she said, you're not going to believe this, but Ken's daughter is on MasterChef Canada. And I went, oh my God. And I said, well, which one is she? And I don't really watch TV. And we were at our weekend house and we didn't have a TV, or we had a TV, but it wasn't hooked up to anything. So she said, oh, just when you get a chance, look, you'll know who it is. And sure enough, I picked her out immediately. She was a spitting image of her dad. So then I'm like, oh my God. So then I said to Bob, I have these letters I've been hanging on to for 40 years. I don't know why. What should I do with them? And he's like, send them to the widow. And my auntie said the same thing. And I thought, oh my God. So I waited and waited and waited. And didn't Ken's daughter win MasterChef Canada? Yeah. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to Facebook Messenger the widow and tell her that I have them. And so my heart was like pounding in my ears. So I sent her this message because I knew what her name was. And I said to her, you know, you're probably going to think I'm absolutely crazy woman, but I'm not a stalker, but I've been hanging on to these letters for 40 years. They're like a diary. They're not romantic whatsoever. If you want them, they're yours. And I also said to her, you probably don't know who I am. And then I said, but, you know, tell me to get lost. Okay. And I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And then 20 minutes later, don't I get a message? Oh my God, this is the best week of my life. You know, my daughter wins MasterChef Canada. You have these letters. This is like the best week ever. She said, of course I want these letters. So I bundled them up in a package and I sent them off to her. So her daughter is Mary Berg, the well-known TV personality, and chef. Mother is Myra. Myra and I have become extremely close friends over, even though we don't see each other very often, we bonded. I can't even explain to you how and she really was helpful, especially when Bob passed away. She was really helpful with me, with guidance and observation and care. So yeah, we've become very, very good friends. And she might even be watching this video for all I know. But the thing of it is, I'm not the hero in this story, but I'm blown away by the fact that I carried these dozen or so letters with me, maybe 10, like I said, for like 40 years. And the funny thing was, for the very first time about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had a visitation dream with Ken, and I have never dreamt about him before, ever. But yeah, wow. He was there in my dream and I was talking to him and he looked like he did when he was, 18, 19 years old. So yeah, so
that is so cool.
Yeah.
That's a really happy story. And it's so
Very
neat, right?
happy.
Like you just have this feeling, you just, that makes no sense. Why would you not get rid of the, because you felt like you needed to hold on to them somehow, some way, right? Like I love those. That's a great story. That is a
I
great
love
story.
I love the story because it's just so wild. You just can't
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have another story that's kind of fun. Um, Brett and I were getting ready to fly to Winnipeg to go to a wedding and about a 2-hour drive north of Winnipeg. And this is when he was still working and he was on a night shift. So I'm doing the final packing. He's at work. He's going to drive home from work and we're going to drive to the airport for this red-eye flight. So I'm doing the final packing, getting things, and I clears a day, clears a bell. I hear in my ear, take the passports. And I'm like, I don't need the passports. I'm flying in Canada. All I need is the driver's license. And I hear again, take the passports. I'm like, okay, twice. I'm not ignoring this. So I get my passport, I get Brent's passport, put them, get there, we get to the parking lot, we leave the car, they take us right away, take us to the airport. He falls asleep, we get through security. He falls asleep on the really uncomfortable chairs. He was that tired. And they start to load the plane and I wake him up and I say, okay, wake up and get your license out so we can go on the plane. And he looked at me and he went, I left it in the car. And I went, oh, that's
Oh
okay.
my.
I've got our passports.
Ah, whoa.
So
That's a good story.
isn't it? And the wrinkle was, of course, he was planning on doing all the driving and I was going to navigate because that works really well for us. And I was like, yeah, sorry, you can't drive when you don't have your license. So I did all the driving, which was fine. We worked it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was just, listen, when you get those feelings and, oh, last week, okay, I should have paid attention, but because I didn't pay attention, now I remember always pay attention because every now and then we get these little kick in the butts. And if you're wondering if you really have premonitions, start writing down things. Start writing them down. Get a little notebook, write little things down, and then, oh, did that happen? Or I felt this and then this happened, or this and then this. So here's one. I was starting to think with I have different online banking accounts, different banks. And with one of them, I was going, I think I should change that password. It's a little shorter than the other ones. It's still pretty good, but yeah, I should do that. I should do that. So we're away and I and I had to pay a bill. And so that was at the beginning of the week. And I think it was when I was already on this open Wi-Fi as opposed to private Wi-Fi, which I almost never do, right? And I might have even done it before when I was in Quebec. But anyways, it doesn't matter because the thing was, the last day that we were away in the States, I see this notice on my phone. Someone tried to sign into your bank account, the two-step verification.
Yeah.
Is this you? Is this you? Are you trying to sign in? And I'm like, no. So I didn't see it, of course, until 6 hours after the fact and anybody who knows how I lost my whole Facebook history from being hacked recently, I had a little panic. So anyway, I called them in the morning and they reset my password because I didn't want to reset my password on the open Wi-Fi, right? Because that didn't seem secure to me, no matter where it had gotten taken from. So anyway, there it was. I should have listened to that little voice that said, you really should change that password. So, but I was fortunate. It wasn't an expensive lesson. It was just a little kick in the pants. Like, hey, you know better. You know better. When you hear those little things, pay attention.
And you just made me think of another one that I can tell really, really quickly. So a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, my sister and I had planned to drive to Prince Edward Island to go to a knitting festival, which sounds bizarre, but knitting yarn is everything. And we were taking classes. We were very, very excited. Well, two of the guest speakers that were going to be there, or two of the guests that were coming in from Germany, are a mother-daughter duo, and they have the best, one of the best knitting shows on YouTube. It's like a TV show. It's an hour and a half. It's so professional. I've been following them for years. But just a couple of years prior to that, after Bob, but just a couple of years prior to that, the father had passed away very unexpectedly from, what do you call it? The same one that got Gord Downey.
Brain cancer. Didn't he
Yes,
have brain
I am
cancer?
sorry. I'm apologizing. I was telling Margaret, I have been so busy. My brain, it's like I've got 20 tabs open in the cell phone in my brain. Anyway, yeah, anyways. So I thought I wanted a gift for her because I know how difficult it is to, to be a widow, especially, when she's younger than me. So I bought her this wonderful book of poems by Margaret Atwood that she had written after her partner had passed. And it's a lovely book. But first of all, I kept holding off buying the book. For some reason, I couldn't figure out why don't buy the book. And then I thought, you're being an idiot, order the book. And then I had trouble inscribing the book. I couldn't inscribe it. So I put a Post-it note in there. And I did say, with something Leea Nutson, but not, anyways, wrapped it all up, put it in our luggage, and off we drive to Prince Edward Island. Only to arrive in Prince Edward Island to have to leave the next morning because the hurricane came in and wiped out and there was no festival, nothing to be had. So I went back with this book, which I still have. I haven't sent it to them. I finally unwrapped it after 2 years the other day because I wanted to see what the heck I had done with it. But it was just really interesting, the whole process of don't buy it, don't inscribe it, don't make it personal, just in case you can't give it to them. And I'm certainly not going to send it off to Germany. There's very little possibility I'll run into them in the next few years. But in any case, there you go. So you have to listen to your gut, especially when it's that loudly.
Folks, your premonitions are there for a reason, right? You can either do something about it, like change your password or take the passports, or you can just sort of go, okay, something may happen. Be aware, especially like when you get that funny feeling. It's like, ew, something doesn't feel right. Pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention.
Absolutely.
Right? This is all of your senses work together. And your sixth sense is one of them. So
yeah, it can save you, or it can create an otherwise serendipitous event that you didn't expect to happen. So just in the case of the letters, and preventing disaster in the case of the rental or the passport situation.
Yeah. Well, and now you've got this wonderful friend, right? That I know you guys are close, and that's so cool.
That was like such a gift out of it. So it was really, really meant to be. And so follow your intuition. That is our message for you.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think we've wrapped it up quite nicely in time.
I think so indeed. Yes.
And I will have to say, because I've been admiring that sweater that you're wearing all episode. That's no doubt one of your creations, that you've knitted.
Well, it's a pattern. It's called ranunculus. It's probably the most popular knitting pattern in the world. It's probably been knit about 20,000 times. I know people who've knit 8 versions of it. It's knit it's actually a very bright orange. It's knit in a wonderful yarn from a Canadian yarn company out of Montreal called Sonder. I use them a lot, especially when I'm test knitting, because they're very reliable. But yeah, it's just a nice, fun, easy, happy fall sweater, and it's sweater weather. Finally,
it is sweater weather.
Sweater weather. And I have had a pumpkin spice latte. I have done that, but at 390 calories, I think I'd rather drink a glass of wine at 150. So let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm just doing this so you can see I've got my little witch and my little wizard back up there. I don't know if you can see. There's my little witch, my little wizard.
Oh yeah, I've got my tantu out. So Finns call these tantu. So in fact I keep forgetting what they're actually called in English. But in any case, I got my tontus out and I got my pumpkins out. And of course, my house is always decorated in autumnal colors. So I am an autumn girl.
You
So
are set to go. Good.
happy time of year. Well, thank you all very much for
Yes,
tuning
thanks for
in.
watching.
Please like and subscribe. Please share with your friends. And if you are of the female persuasion, please sign up with our Facebook group. It is limited to women who are women or identify as women. But this is certainly an open space for everybody. And we really would appreciate your comments and any suggestions you have for anything that you might want to hear in the future. We would happily tackle any subject. Don't you agree?
I think we're pretty rich, open to anything.
We have lots of great ideas, so stay tuned.
Yes, and
Well,
we will look
everybody-
forward to seeing you at the next one.
Have a great one.
Happy
Ciao.
autumn. Talk to you soon. See you soon, Leah. Bye, guys.